Well, hi, my name is Rob Rienow. It's been such a great privilege to be a part of the ICHE convention this year. And one of the big things that God has been doing in my life and teaching me over the years is a lost doctrine in the church today, and it's the lost doctrine of jurisdictions. One of the things that I was so curious about, it really wasn't until 2004 that God turned my heart to the ministry of my own children. I was a youth pastor, and so really my number one passion in the world was passing my faith to other people's kids. And that's what I did day in and day out. It was my number one mission. But I really had no plan and purpose to pass my faith to my own children. So God turned my heart to my own kids. And then all these scriptures in the Bible about parents being the primary spiritual trainers of their children jumped off the pages to me, and I realized, oh my goodness, if God calls me to be the primary spiritual trainers of my kids, then God must call all the other parents in my church to be the primary spiritual trainers of their kids. But as a youth pastor, the structure that I had set up was a model where parents were supposed to drop their kids off to me as the youth pastor to shepherd their kids. And I was hearing this phrase going around, and I previously had rejected it. And the phrase was this: it's not really the job of the church to disciple children. It's really the job of the family. And that's a very controversial subject. And for many years I heard that, and I thought it was kind of confusing, and I rejected it. And what is at the heart of that statement is a jurisdictional theology. A jurisdictional theology that God's created families, churches, governments. These are institutions He's created with separate jurisdictions. I had no clue about any of this, and frankly, most folks in my generation have never been taught this. That's why we don't care if the government takes care of our aging parents. Okay, whose jurisdictional responsibility is caring for seniors? Well, I believe the Bible teaches that's the job of the family and the children, but now the government's taken over that job, and as a result, we've got a big disaster on our hands. And as you walk through the Bible and you look at what has God said to families, what has God said to churches, what has God said to governments, one of the jurisdictional principles that arises from that is this: that when a larger jurisdiction usurps responsibility from a lesser jurisdiction, two things always happen. Number one, the crisis will not be solved. And number two, the proper jurisdiction will be robbed of motivation, time, and resources to do the job. So let's imagine that the public school is going to teach our kids about sex and drugs, okay? So the government is going to teach our kids about sex and drugs. Well, number one, the problem will not be solved because it's the wrong jurisdiction. Number two, the proper jurisdiction, parents, is going to be robbed of motivation, time, and resources to do the job. I don't have to talk to my kids about sex and drugs. They're going to get that in health class. And the same thing now has started to happen in the church. The youth group, the children's ministry, which is maybe a vitamin boost to kids, maybe a help to kids, but when it's the number one thing they're getting, that is the wrong jurisdiction as the primary spiritual trainer of the child. And so as a result of that, the crisis isn't solved. We've got 75% of kids growing up in church today leaving the church as adults. And then the proper jurisdiction, moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas, being robbed of motivation, time, and resources to do the job. And so part of this vision of home discipleship is getting back to the church, equipping parents to be the primary spiritual trainers of their children, and that's what Visionary Family Ministries is all about.